Assalamualaikum. So today we're going to talk about this concept of strangers, being a stranger as a Muslim in the society that we're in, and how this ummah could relieve this feeling of being odd in the midst of people, in the midst of our surroundings, and how it could relieve us of our hardships and how it could make us even more excel and our performance in ibadah. And we're going to talk about the effects of being distant with the ummah and how being close to the ummah could nourish us even more, nourish our soul, our behavior, and could purify us and enhance our relationship to Allah. So first of all, this concept of strangers is coming from this one hadith that is coming from Sunan bin Majah that said, Islam began as something strange and will go back to being strange. So glad tidings to the strangers. So basically we are the strangers because we are the ones who are morally upright and then we're sticking with our Islam, meanwhile other people are not that much. And we're just the odd one out of our surroundings, and this could make us feel like a stranger. And this is what this hadith is talking about, that we feel like we're strangers because a lot less people are like-minded. So because of feeling that we're strangers, it could make us feel lonely at times, especially when we're not really that close or we haven't really gain back some of our bonds with other Muslims, with this community. And this could make us feel drained because we feel like we're the only one and that we're just stuck in this cycle of loneliness that makes us feel that we're just gonna be lonely. And because of that, one of the effects that from not being with the Ummah, it could lead us to having low performance and it could make us perform not as well as we had when we were with Muslims. And this is because we diminish our standards bit by bit as we see our own surroundings, as we compare our own performance with other people's performance who are not following Islam's practices, and that when we're struggling or when we're striving in Islam and the comparison that we see is only the ones that we're seeing right now in our surroundings. And because of that, that makes us feel that we're the only one that's striving. And because of that, this could lower our standards into what is excelling in Islam, and that this could make one think, oh, at least I'm not doing that, at least I'm not doing this. This could lead one to just do the bare minimum, and this could minimize our performance and minimize our excelling in our ibadah. This refers to this one hadith that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, the example of a good, pious companion and an evil one is that of a person carrying musk and another blowing a pair of bellows. So the one who is carrying musk is basically the good and the pious companion, the Muslims. And when we're near them, we're gonna have a perfume, right? Whether we buy that perfume or whether we're just standing close with them, we're gonna smell good. And in the opposite, when we are close with a pair of bellows, we can either have a bad smell from being close to him, or we can have our clothes burned because of being with him. So it has a negative effect on us. This is an example of our friends and our companions and how it could affect on us. So I want to talk on how these feelings of being a stranger, of being the odd one out, and how being lonely, and this feeling of being drained and having a low performance could all be nourished with just being with the community. And the community I'm saying is specifically the Ummah. So because of that, when we feel that as we're Muslim, we might feel that we're odd with other people and that our practices are odd, the sunnahs, because we're following it, and we might feel that we're strange and amongst other people. And when we do see other Muslims who are also doing the same thing as us, that makes us feel comforted and makes us feel belong. That there is someone else on the other side who is also doing the same thing. And this makes us feel that we're not as strange as we thought, and that although we both of those people who are strange in their own context, in their own lives, but as they meet each other, they're not strange, but they're family. That they're strange in their own lives. They are strangers in this life, but they're family with one another because of their beliefs. And this is really beautiful because of the Hadith before. So glad tidings to the strangers. Strangers, meaning there's a lot of people here. So this Ummah. So it's glad tidings to this Ummah, to the strangers. So because of that, as I said, that we're all family, right? This family doesn't refer to the distance, that we may be really close to each other, so we may feel that we're family, or that we're actually family, we're siblings, or that we're in one school or in one country. It doesn't mean that whoever believes in Allah and follows its practices and believes in the Prophet Muhammad SAW, that means we're family. Whether we know each other or not, or whether we're close or not, we're still family. In a certain context, such as school, we may feel strange at school, but maybe someone out there in another country, that we may be struggling at school, and that we might just not know that someone else out there in another country might be facing the same thing, might be struggling and striving in the path towards Allah too. And maybe a friend out there who's outside of school, maybe they're also facing the same thing, and we might just not know. We know that we all struggle, right? But that we're struggling together. We might not know it, but we are all in this together as an Ummah. So another thing that's really wholesome about this Ummah is that no matter what status we have in this life, if we're Muslim, that means we're family. If we're Muslims, that means we are together. Whether we're a teacher, a student, a sibling, an aunt, or someone else, if we are Muslim, that means we're one Ummah. We're a part of the community together. And for the next point is that we're going to talk about how the Muslim community could relieve us of our hardships. Because personally, as a person who doesn't really vent to other people and who doesn't really talk about problems in my life to other people, I might not just be talking and ranting to them, but the fact that I'm with their presence, with the presence of those who are near to Allah, it could make me nearer to Allah too, and it could relieve my heart too. And this is really beautiful that I find, right? Is that it makes my heart at ease with their presence. Is that we don't need to talk, we don't need to rant to each other. Just being with each other is really enough. And one thing that I really find interesting is that whenever we've had like a tough day, and then when we feel that our surroundings have just been those who are not as good as an influence to us, and then when we come to the masjid or the musalla example and see other Muslims, and when we greet them or when they greet us, it's just like a breeze of fresh air to see them and to see them with us. Although we might not be close, but just seeing them is really a breeze of fresh air. Is that like, for example, we've just been in a world of pollution, and then when we go to the musalla and see other Muslims, it's like we refresh now, our soul is refreshed. And the last part is that one of the more effects that we could have in having this Muslim community is that our performance will be higher. It makes sense, right? Because if we have a not so good influence, our performance in our ibadah will get lower. But if we have a good community of Muslims, then our performance will be higher. And this is referring to the musk, to the person who is selling musk. That this is referring to the Muslims, and when we are close to that person who is selling musk, that means we will smell good. Same to Muslims. That means if that Muslim is practicing, they're really good in character, they really strive in the path towards Allah, then we might just get influenced. Or if not, we're just gonna have their smell to us, and then we're gonna get influenced, right? This influence means that we're always improving with our performance, and that when we're sisters of faith, brothers of faith, we love each other for the sake of Allah. And this love is so great, that this love goes beyond this worldly life, that we're willing to point out their flaws, to point out their mistakes, so that they could be amongst the people who are in the highest level of paradise in the hereafter, and we could be together with them. So that this love that we have to our brothers and sisters, this goes to their hereafter. We love and care for their hereafter too. We want to make them better. We want to make their hereafter better too. And this is our form of love as well. So because of that, we always tell each other on things that we could improve on, because we care for each other's hereafter. And because of that, we have a good comparison to see when we're struggling and when we're striving, and then we see this community, this Muslim community, who's also striving and struggling. This makes us even more motivated to push forward, to push even more, and to excel even more. So one tip is to look at the right community. Not in the society that's not so good as an influence, but rather compare yourself to the Muslim community who's also striving and struggling, and who's also there in the path towards Allah with you. So I want to end it off with this wholesome message, that this goes to the sisters. If one of you are struggling in the path towards Allah, or is struggling with anything, if one of you sisters of faith are struggling, then feel free to contact me. If you don't have anyone to talk to, or that you just need some company, feel free to contact me through YouTube or Instagram. It's in my YouTube profile if you want to check. Because I want to make this video to remind ourselves and me that we're all in this together, right? And that if you are struggling, or if there's a lot of things going on, then we're here as an Ummah. I know we're struggling in our own ways, in our own path towards Allah, but let's just do it as a collective. Let's strive towards Allah as a collective, and with that, we could reunite with each other in paradise. That a community who is rising and lifting each other up in ibadah and making each other closer to Allah. And when I say that, if you're struggling, then contact me, not in the sense that we depend each other for comfort, and that we just talk on and on about our problems, not in that sense, but that we get to feel near to Allah, and that we always remind ourselves of Allah and of Islam and the reminders in Islam, so that we could always nourish our iman and ibadah together and our connection with Allah. And with that enhanced connection with Allah, we could rather enhance our reliance to Allah instead. Not depend on each other, but depend on Allah even more, because ultimately Allah is one who could relieve us of our hardships. So that's the end of my video. So as a summary, if you do feel that you're lonely and that you feel like you're strange, always look back to the Muslim community, and always make sure to have that Muslim community in your area and to have that Muslim circle with you, because it's really crucial in developing as a Muslim. So always keep those Muslim community with you tight. Always grasp them tightly in your life. And just know that I'm here if you do want a Muslim sister. And that's all I gotta say. I hope it benefits. Salam and thank you.